Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Guile here, and welcome back to another Supreme Commander epic. That's right, it's the time of the month when replays last just a little bit longer than usual, so you know what to do. If you haven't got time to watch it now, do dump it in your Watch Later playlist and catch it when you do have the time. The more astute of you out there will have recognised that I've altered the intro. That's not necessarily a permanent change. I'm just experimenting with the YouTube algorithm to see if I can improve viewer retention, so please don't do anything differently than you would normally. Get down there, get chatty in the comments, and smash that like button. It all helps, as you well know. Right, what have I got for you today to celebrate the fact that, well, it's Thursday, isn't it? Always worth celebrating something. I've got a custom 8v8, and not only that, it's Average Joe's Day today here at Guilecast. Those masters of mediocrity return once more to show you how things would be done if you weren't really concentrating properly. We'll call this Team 1 up here at the top, this Team 2 down here at the bottom. Wasting no time, let's introduce our players as they gate in. Going first for Team 1, rearguard air position, if there is such a thing, it's Vantlaw. Going Seraphim in electric blue, opening first land. To his south over here in Cyanide Cyan, we have Sock full of kids. That must be a very large sock, or perhaps it's a whole bunch of borrowers, who knows. He's going Aeon, opening first land. Team member number 3 on the front line down here in lime green, or that's lurid green, isn't it? It's Babushka Lover. There he is, Babushka. Going UEF, opening first air, going second land. Team member number 4, right up here on the back row, it's Normander. Another Seraphim, this time in burgundy red, opening first land. In the center, holding down the fort, holding everything together, it's Tassin. There he is, going UEF in Halliborange orange, opening first land. Back up on the back row in Elephantine grey, we've got Gosp Odin trademark. I'm not sure if that's Gosp Odin one day. It's capitalized the O, so I'm going to call him Odin today. He's going Cybrin Bless him, opening first air. Team member number 7 now back on the front row in Pontiff White. We've got Signal Runner. He's gone first land and gone Cybrin. And last but not least, over here at the East Coast in Baby Blue, but going pink. How ridiculous. It's the Pink Bomber, and he's gone Cybrin as well, which is also ridiculous. Opening first land. So that's Team 1. Team 2 now, and we're going to have to slow things down because there's already a little bit of sauciness inbound from Babushka Lover. You can see a T1 bomber about to cross that patch of water. Let's introduce our players though. First of all, well, the time has been slowed. Rearguard air position to begin with. Hyper 2001, another Cybrin, this time in combat green, opening first land. Above him in Spetsnaz green, this time another Aeon. It's Bantha Fodder. Disappointed it's not Bantha Pudu, but there it is, and he is opening first land. Team member number 3 to his north still. This time in Dijon yellow, we have Spectre Slave 137 opening first land and going Seraphim. In the center, linchpin holding it together, it's Twitchy Mofo, probably not the best chap to hold everything together, but there he is, and he's going Mellow Yellow, opening first land, going Aeon. On the back row once more in Fecal Brown, we have Jagged Source, loving the names today, and he's gone first land, second air, and gone Seraphim. Next up on the back row over here in Baby Pink, it's Wektha. I never know if it's Weketha or Wektha. I'm going to call him Wektha because time is short, my life is short, and who needs an extra syllable in there? Certainly not me. He has gone Cybrin, gone first land, second air. On the far left over here on the west coast, we've got Strays of Paradise, another Seraphim, opening first land in Regal Purple, and last but not least, guarding his northeastern flank, Daddy Chad. Yeah, boy. He is going Seraphim in Ferrari red, opening first land. Game quality at 91%. We're pretty happy with that balance, essentially. Lowest rated player, an 800 down here. It's Strays of Paradise. Everybody else is over 1,000. And we have one pro today, Babushka Lover, just across the water here. So that's right, you've got the early rush bomber from the top rated player, ostensibly by our arbitrary categorization, a pro, sending a bomber right off the bat to assault the weakest player. that's low, dude. And that's all I'm going to say. We'll give him some time and watch this assault pan out. I can't wait to see some civilians get slaughtered. There's the preceding scout plane. Always build that second because it flies faster than the bomber anyway. Gets a good read of the situation. Strays of Paradise now thinks, oh God. And there's the initial bombing run, and there is the first casualty of today's game. We didn't even get a wreck in there. Look at that. absolutely annihilated. Where's that bomber off to now? Gets a stall turn in there. And he's going to hang a couple of Louis. Actually, that's a right turn, isn't it? Not a Louis. So he's going to stick around Strays of Paradise's base. He did get his scout plane out over the top of Wekther's base, so I thought he might transition over there. But no, he's sticking around to assault the weakest person into oblivion. He manages to bag himself 2 individual T1 P-Gens as well. Do we have any inbound air support? There it is. Who is it stepping up to the plate? None other than Daddy Chad. The name is well deserved. Is he going to be able to save Strays of Paradise's base from any more damage? No, he's not. In fact, every single T1 energy plant up in smoke. That is dreadful. Strays of Paradise now pretty badly crippled. He'll be leeching off his teammates. I'm sure his teammates will be nice and donate him a power plant here or two till he gets his own power grid up and running. I mean, I'm not seeing many transfer over. He's getting a decent share of the mexes about, but no one's helping. That's always nice to see. ACUs now moving towards the middle. We've got 3 ACUs there from Team 2. Arguably, Strays of Paradise is a front line, but after the wicked assault he's just had visited upon him, we don't expect him to go rushing in towards the middle. And it looks like we're going to get 3 ACUs heading towards the center as well there from Team 1. Little transport with engineers inbound moving southeasterly from Normander. We didn't get a chance to examine the reclaim situation. There's not a lot. We've scrolled right out. We've got some decent mass fields kind of at the corners of the mid. There's about 1,500, 1,700 there at those 4 corners. Otherwise, it's pretty sparse. There's not a lot of reclaim. Decent number of mass points though, so capturing and holding territory will be important. But check this out. We're getting some aggression here. Normander potentially going for a little bit of build a base in your base. Drops them off, goes straight for a T1 point defense right off the bat. Probably wants to get himself a bit of anti-air as well while he's at it. But he's dropped very close to Bantha Fodder's base. Bantha Fodder sitting there right in the center. I think he was expecting him to be somewhere else, to be honest. Otherwise, he would have made landfall in a different location. Bantha Fodder and Spectre Slave quick to roll on up and shut this down. Oh, it's not really rolling, is it? Stroll on up and shut this little drop down. They take a bit of damage there on Bantha Fodder's comm, but he won't be worried about that. I'm sure he'll have that repped up before the next encounter, whatever and whenever that may be. Daddy Chad moving up over here to this little mass field, throwing down a bunch of land factories. I assume we're going to get similar placements for forward positions, forward factory slots from everybody else on Team 1 and Team 2. Gun upgrade on the way for both Twitchy Mofo and... I'm going to struggle not to giggle every time I hear that. I don't know why. It tickles me in a way that, well, I guess someone who's twitchy might tickle me. Gun upgrades on the way for both Twitchy Mofo and Bantha Fodder. Spectre Slave moving in towards the center now with his commander still as yet unupgraded. We are starting to get naval power on the way for Team 2. We've got a single naval yard for what's his face, Strays of Paradise and Wekther down here, but we already have operational vessels on patrol in the top right pond for Pink Bomber and Odin. Sorry, this is what happens in an 8v8. So many players to contend with. It's nigh on impossible to keep track of the ball, so it'll take me a little while to get warmed up to everybody. Frigates inbound to try and shut down this little expansion here from Spectre Slave. He's trying to get a second naval yard online. He does manage that. There's 5 engineers in play here. That Trident class frigate's going to want to roll on in and kill those off before they can complete that 3rd naval yard. And this is what Daddy Chad was always going to be going for. Straight up here, land factories on the coastline and floaty, naughty Zooey spam with those horrendous suicide mortars across the water there. And horrible little... fractal. That's the problem with these map gens where they don't bother colouring in the border. You go to the side-on views like that, it does look rather hideous. But those Zooies inbound now. The tack they're planning to take, I'm guessing, is up this way, probably wanting to get those Zooies in amongst some of these T1 mass points up this channel here, but that is exactly in the path, the location of Babushka Lover's forward naval yards, or only naval yards I should say. And there's now a good old 3 of them, and in fact those Zuis will be turned around by a single frigate, which as it turns out more than enough to get the job done. What's happening over here in the center now? Twitchy Mofo moving right up to the middle, grabbing a forward mechs, and he's got a decent amount of T1 spam along with that commander. Daddy Chad also moving up. What have we got that's worth fighting over in the center? Well, it's 8 mexes if you can hold that whole central valley there. Not the easiest thing to do, but I have to admit, this kind of map layout, this is the sort of map layout that you often see players play. Not usually a map gen, it's not something the map gen usually puts together, it's usually something that someone has engineered, a style a bit like Thermopylae for instance, where people like to feel safe in amongst their teammates and then hurl their forces in through a narrow bottleneck at each other, reminiscent of the original Gap of Rohan for instance, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's rare the map gen that comes up with something like this. Forward mexes going down there for Tassin as Twitchy Mofo expands out with his comm. Babushka Lover just over here with his commander. Tassin was going to drop an engineer, thought better of it. Far too many hostiles in the region. Babushka Lover bringing his comm back out of the water to engage those tinfoil auroras. Personally, get some kills on that comm, start racking up the veterancy points. Tassin back here, throwing down a T1 point defense, giving Babushka Lover a place to withdraw to. A little bit of extra safety. Some saucy Zooey action coming in from the south across the water there from Daddy Chad. Looking a little bit leaky in this bay area, like these Zooies are going to get some penetration here. At least 3 to 4 vulnerable mexes potentially. We have got a little group of strikers moving to intercept. Our first T2 gunship, or the first one we've spotted, that's out from Daddy Chad, putting the smackdown on Babushka Lover as Twitchy Mofo moves in. However, Vantlaw quick to respond with his interceptors, as are Sockful of Kids, or as is Sockful of Kids. I was thinking in pluralese there, but of course it's just one chap. Gun upgrade completes there for Daddy Chad, who wastes no time, goes straight for Tech 2. What's happening now in the top pond? Decent amount of units now for Spectre Slave, who has managed to get himself established despite that early frigate pressure that went out from the pink bomber. We saw those early vessels come down here starting to whack away on some engineers, but all of those naval yards still operational. One was a little badly damaged, down to about 1,120 hit points out of 4,000, so he nearly took that one down, but ostensibly it wasn't to be. But Babushka Lover taking a lot of fire here. He is very close to the water, so he'll be able to back into it in an emergency, but I would say 2,000 hit points qualifies as an emergency. He should probably think about doing it, but instead it looks like he's elected to simply withdraw, stay on the land, and maybe bait Twitchy Mofo in further. But a wave of T1 bombers over the top, right above Babushka Lover. Babushka Lover does actually a pretty nice job of evading that bombing run. Those T1 bombers don't get a second chance, and now Twitchy Mofo's in trouble, down to 1,130 hit points. He dips back into the water, looking very peaky indeed. Looks like we won't be getting any exciting early comm kills there. Nice play by both chaps on that one. New naval yard completes down here. Yet to get its orders assigned. Some vessel getting sunk. Couple of vessels, in fact. They were probably hostile vessels from Babushka Lover. They looked like they were of UEF origin. Getting taken down perhaps by these torpedo launchers and some of the Zooey power. New units amassing just over the border down here from Team 2. It's looking much more mobile and offensive from Team 2 and a little bit more static and defensive from Team 1. You can see we've got a little defensive fire base going up here on the front line for Signal Runner. And of course this little set of manufactories over here with shield coverage. We did have some point defense, well, T1 point defense they've been taking out, but we've got a good old battery of triads slightly further back. They'll all be nicely covered by that shield gen, with the exception of that one, of course, just sitting outside it, just about. As we zoom out and take stock, what's the eco situation in terms of total mass accrued? It's 265k versus 253k in favor of Team 1, so they fared better in the early game in total, and they're also slightly ahead in generated eco. It's looking at an averaging out about 643 to something like that versus 620, and then down to 616. They're ever so slightly ahead, so expect that gap to grow bit by bit. Twitching Mofo still looking pretty peaky in the red there on about 2,800 HP. Continues to withdraw. Definitely a sensible decision. Daddy Chad moving on up, going for a T2 torpedo launcher this time. Wants to try and shut down this Bay Area by the looks of things. I guess if he has control of it, keep this Navy out. It'll make it easy for him, or easier for him, to crush this forward position, which is currently supplying units to the front line. Little T2 PD there. It's probably going to struggle with this inbound spam, although Com just off the coastline here gets to work on a little bank of T1. Should be able to thin out a lot of those strikers as they roll on past. And there's a secondary battery over here as well, slightly further to the southeast. Zui's lying in wait, so that will be the end of that little attack. What's going on over here? Nice combination of Vulthu gunships and air superiority fighters from Normandy, assaulting some of the vessels in the Bay Area in the northern pond, and then proceeding to move on to land targets. In comes the counter-attack from Hyper. I haven't seen an awful lot from him yet. He's been sitting back here, presumably doing what air players do best, and teching up, getting the eco going so you can sustain mass ASF production. Always a sensible decision, always necessary, especially in these big games. Air power crucial for mobility and pinpoint attack accuracy. Babushka Lover's healed up a little bit, dropped back under shield coverage. He's on around 4,100 HP now. Sock full of kids under the same shield gen, looking all clean and comfortable. Plenty of HP to go around over there. Nice little assault though on Signal Runner. His forward base under some pressure now. Shield capitulating under the fire. Also got they're looking very wavy. Are these mobile missile launchers? No, they're not. That's proper TAC missile launchers back here belonging to Bantha fodder. They fly very wavy compared to their UEF counterparts, but Signal Runner seems to have the spam situation under control for the time being at least. Leading by example, out front in front of his shield gen, blapping away with his comm. Solid obsidian tank rolling up to cause a few problems, but I think this might hold, although the odd unit trying to get inside the shield gen. You don't want to stop there when you're just inside, or just outside, sorry. Get in there and take the shield down. Running out of HP, but he does manage to snag the shield gen. So that forward fire base unprotected for the time being. I'm not sure if these were control K'd or if they've been destroyed. More defenses going up now. This time it's a longer range set. We've got some clink hammer artillery going up over here, and that should put that forward base of Daddy Chad's on the corner there in range, I would imagine. Not a lot coming forward in terms of ground tech from Daddy Chad. Wave of spy planes inbound from Normandy. Not a huge amount going on from Strays of Paradise, but that's what you would expect from the 800 player over here, the 800 player who was physically assaulted, devastatingly so, right at the start of the game. Salem-class cruisers on the attack, though, in the top pond. Very nice work from Odin. He was looking a little quiet in the top pond, but it seems he just sat back, pumped out a whole bunch of T2 vessels, and now it looks like Team 2 might be locked out of the top pond altogether. And worse still, of course, we're about to see some naughty walkie-walkie, I'm sure, with these Salems getting ideas above their station and going for a walk on the land. Sprouting the legs in disgusting fashion. You've got to do it now, I've mentioned it, it's the law. Rolling on up, bombarding those mass points at range. And there we have it. Off they go for a little stroll. Disgraceful. Disgraceful cybernage. ASF circling over the bottom pond belonging to Vantlaw. So much has happened, and yet we're only 18 minutes into this game so far. Transport laden with about 3 Lobos by the looks of things. And is that a broadsword? Yes, it is broadsword. Moving on up over here, we do have a Stinger gunship, but that's the first T3 gunship I've seen on the field. And this is looking, I'd say, bad from Team 2's perspective. They're actually up overall in total eco and generated eco, but they've lost basically all territory on that northern coast of theirs. And at the moment they're struggling to get a handle on this inbound naval turned land incursion. A couple of blazes rolling up. They're not going to fare too well. Now, oh, that is painful. Wow, control handed over. Is that Spectre Slave bowing out? He basically just handed everything over to his teammate. Bantha Fodder in command of everything in this northern section now. Had enough. Amazing. 4 Cyberin destroyers was enough to do him in. And he's just going to drop on back. Wait for me, Vantlaw. What's Normander talking about? What have we got down here? A few little naval yards right at the bottom left-hand corner belonging to Vantlaw. Air players from T1 cooking up something. Not exactly sure what just yet. Finally, we're getting some units moving in to take these out. What they really need is a horde of gunships. That would be ideal, but alas, such a tool does not exist. Oh, and look at that. When the times get tough, some cowardly Cyberin starts work on a laser, so expect some telemesa play on the way from Hyper 2001. 30% done there. That's his second upgrade. Hasn't got teleporter yet either. Hopefully we catch that when he does manage to complete that. But it's the ultimate panic seller, isn't it? We're behind. Quick, telesnipe. I'll say it again. I've said it 100,000 times. Black Ops mod, I think it was Black Ops mod, had it right with the teleport inhibitor. Devs, please make it happen. It's required to stop that ridiculousness. As soon as that's in, I promise I'll stop complaining about Cyberin telesnipes, because it has a decent counter beyond just building lots of T1 point defense around your comm and having to have it sit there. Engineers kicking about, having a little swim. There's not a lot of danger really behind these vessels. So top pond firmly under Team 1's control. And bottom pond, I mean, sort of 50-50. What have we got here? A couple of couple of destroyers, bunch of frigates, and a cruiser or two further back for Babushka. And compare that to 2 T2 subs, 2 Barracudas, and a bunch of Trident frigates there from Wektha. We do, however, have a destroyer out from Strays of Paradise. He's also got a strategic bomber lying in wait there. In fact, a couple of them. Might have a few weapons for a few crucial plays at some point. But look at this. So with this assault, Tassin has moved in with a couple of transports and set up shop over here. This is a proper little beachhead now. Jumping off point for Team 1 to continually launch attacks on Team 2's main base. About to lose a T3 PGen. There it goes with all its volatility. It's glorious explosions. T2's up here also going to go down. Excuse me while I take a sip. It's been non-stop chatter so far. Laser done. Starting teleporter, says Hyper. I mean, he doesn't say that. That's why. That's just for our benefit, really. But yeah, there it goes. Filthy, dirty Cyberniz. Filthy Orcses. Gonna filthy Orcses. That's actually proceeding pretty darn quickly. 50% done already. Nuking his power. Who is going to be the first target? The first sensible target, more than anyone, I suppose, would be Babushka Lover. You get rid of their pro, their 1500. That's who I'd want out of the game first of all. Maybe he doesn't see it that way. It's got to be difficult looking at this. This is not a attractive picture if you're playing on Team 2. Team 2 now well behind in generated eco and total mass. It's 1.08 million versus 1.03 million mass. And it's 1.8k generative versus 1.5k. So both metrics indicating a lead for Team 1. And then of course you've got the map control metric, which is
transport is full.
Pretty obvious. Let's go back to single screen. Oh, and there it is. Went for pink bomber. Control case still being listed as cause of death. Time of death 24 minutes and 30 odd seconds. Cause of death chest laser. Never a nice way to go, but at least it's quick. And he managed to ping straight back out of there as well. So teleported back to base. Is he going to jump straight in to try and hoover up someone else? No, he hasn't got it charging at the moment, so perhaps he's going to wait a little while. You don't necessarily want to wait too long because, of course, everybody, if they've got any sense, will immediately start doing this and start throwing down as much T1 point defense around their comm as possible. So you're losing a window here. If it comes straight in fact, he could have gone literally from up there down here, but you never know if there are clumps of gunships or whatever, or a horde of strap bombers waiting to take you out. So I understand the compulsion to teleport home to safety at the first opportunity. Salem's advanced forward. How many kills? 23 kills for this Salem, 9 for the other one. Another one inbound up here. That's pretty fresh, only 3 kills to his name. Bunch of other Salem wrecks here which have finally capitulated, but look at what they've done. The ruin of Spectre Slave's old base lies a smoking, ashen husk of its former self. Nice wave of Volthu gunships rolling on in to hoover up some of these mass points that Tassin had cheekily acquired after this recent push. Where are all of those Lobos coming from? There's a stream of them coming through the middle. What's this now? Big old TAC missile battery from Signal Runner. They're going after Daddy Chad by any measure. Let's have a look here. It's going after the forward fire base. Daddy Chad all the way back here, though. They're working on some TAC missile batteries of his own. So Strat seems to be disseminating amongst the different players. And big old guns coming out in the bottom pond as well. We've got a T3 battle cruiser here for Babushka Lover. Galaxy class battleship there for Wektha. Even those strategic bombers getting a little bit of airtime. One of them getting shot down immediately. The other one taking a bit of a battering, but it's down to about half health. Finds himself back in amongst friendly Air Force. And what have you built, sir? We've got our first... Is that our first experimental? I think it might be. An Athota sitting under shield coverage in Jagged Source's main base. Decent clumps of air superiority fighters from Team 2. Multiple players handling air. Big old group of Mercies moving out from Sock Full of Kids. Sounds like it should be a horse running in the 330 at Aintree. Trouble is, they're going to run out of fuel, aren't they? I'll be taking them all the way across a 20 by 20 map like this. Actually doing pretty well. Answers in the comments section below. Have they extended the amount of fuel on board Mercies? Because that's already quite a significant trip for them. And they're at about maybe 1/3 left of their base fuel load. Restorers. Nice little clump of those from Twitchy Mofo. Find themselves up against some flak, though. Don't want to hang about there too long unless they stick around to take them out. That's exactly what they're doing. But there's a big old bank of tracers here. And more flak coming in from behind. Is this going to persuade someone so twitchy to withdraw? I think it is. So that wasn't the only experimental. We've also got a GC stomping around over here. Support commander just went pop somewhere. Oh! Was that an attempt by Hyper? Yes, it was. So Hyper went for another tele-snipe attempt, although Babushka Lover's all the way down here. What was he going after? We'll wait for the nuclear fire to clear. Hard to predict. I have no idea what he was after there. Normander. Nuke ready, says Normander. So we've got some nuke play now on the cards from Team 1. There it is. Nuke launcher right at the back. Getting lots of build capacity assistance. I just want to know... Oh my god, is it that hard to write no properly? Seriously. Know why he had to kill my Ras boy. Totally unnecessary. We've got over here. So an experimental rolling out from Spectre Slave. Was that the one that was originally built by Jagged Source? Jagged Source transferring control of that over here. I'm wondering if he's just trying to get Spectre Slave to set back up again. By giving him something to do. But it is now, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's a 7v7. That's right, we've had one death apiece. That death there from Hyper seemed totally unnecessary. No real benefit there from what I could see. Dynamic in the bottom pond is still essentially to be determined. Got a little bit of frigate versus destroyer action over here next to Daddy Chad's base. Babushka Lover concerned about tac missiles, it would seem, setting up lots of tac missile defense there. There is, of course, this big old battery right over here for Daddy Chad. Is that an inbound artillery from across the way? Perhaps it was some governor fire. Oh, volley away though. Look at that. I love watching them sail past in perfect synchronicity. Glorious UEF tac missile, and that's going for a snipe attempt. We do have some tac missile defense, but perhaps not enough. Boom, baby! And that is big as far as Team 2 are concerned. Scalping the top-rated player, Babushka Lover, right on the coast there. Was doing all the right things, ostensibly, getting himself some protection against this very threat. Just wasn't quick enough. Control of all of his stuff now transfers over to Normander. As a Monkey Lord belonging to Signal Runner flees for shield coverage of that forward base, taking a lot of fire from these restorers. If they were broadsides, that would have been the end of that spider bot, but fortunately the reduced DPS by comparison of the ground fire capabilities, that Aeon gunship, gave that Monkey Lord enough time. GC making progress from Twitchy Mofo, going to obliterate this coastal base belonging to Sock Full of Kids. Originally, of course, Babushka Lover. But yes, Team 1 a man down, but they are some 500 mass per tick up on generated eco, some 200,000 mass in total mass accrued up. That is pretty significant. I just want to have a very quick look, if I may, and you can't really do anything about it because I'm in total control, as you know well. 155 air superiority fighters for Jagged Source, who seems to be handling all of the air production now that Hyper got himself killed. Normander has 52 and Vantlaw has 74, so it's pretty even on air superiority fighter numbers, but a little bit more burden perhaps on Jagged Source, because he's ostensibly handling all air power for his team, with the caveat, of course, of that roving group of bunships, quite like a bunship, roving group of gunships, those restorers that we've seen belonging to Twitchy Mofo, although I'm not seeing them at the moment. Has he gotten all of those killed? Quite possibly he's currently producing more. No, they're over here, continuing to assault this naval base down here, which has just fallen to Team 2. So this is a pretty big victory. They've killed off Babushka Lover.
Strategic launch detected.
Turns out the Babushka probably didn't do him any favours at all. And now they've managed to bag naval control of that bottom left pond. And not only that, they have a GC on enemy soil moving in towards this side base here belonging to Vantlaw. In come the obligatory T1 bombers. The desperation move when you've got an inbound hostile and very little in the way to counter it. Build cheap disposable things and throw them at the big thing. That's essentially what we're looking at here. GC makes his way to the shield. Oh!
Strategic launch detected.
But over here, Daddy Chad getting killed off by what, I wonder? Apologies for missing that. I am seeing inbound artillery fire. There is an ion storm, but the colour makes it actually look like it was Spectre Slaves Ethota. Seeing any more ACU Rex over here? I'm not. Possibly Another TAC missile snipe this time over here from Signal Runner. Maybe. Answers in the comment section below if you saw that. Do feel free to rewind the video and let everybody know. Thota GC, couple of GCs in fact, but an Ithota and a GC versus a single GC, and Restorers, and it's sock full of kids' GC which is going to fall first, but another Ithota turns up, this time belonging to Vantlaw. They're going to finish off Strays of Paradise's Ithota, and he's probably going to win that engagement versus the GC as well, although it might be close. Might be very, very close. Down it goes. GC's still alive, but he's taking fire from the Ion Storm from his teammates Ithota, and there it goes. He gets caught up in between the two Ion Storms eventually. That is all she rode. So look at the generated ecos now. They've almost leveled. It's about a 2.6 something K income for Team 1 and a fluctuating income between 2.5 and 2.6 something. So there's very little. There's like 100, 200 mass difference now in terms of generated eco. That sounds a lot, but for a game of this size, when they've been down many hundreds for much of it, that's actually pretty good going as far as Team 2 are concerned. It is now a 2-4-6v6. So it's leveled on player count. Team 2 not looking like they're going to be able to threaten this northern coastline of their main base anytime soon, which they would love to do, and they'd love to reclaim all of these mass points. They are trying to expand slowly, but it's going to be tough with these vessels on the coastline here. That will certainly help, though, if they can get a GC out to that northern edge, pick off these Salem-class destroyers. Signal Runner with support commanders working on Monkey Lords under the water over here. Ready to bring them out onto the beach and launch an unpleasant surprise for somebody on Team 2. Goodness me, that's a lot of spam factories queued up there for Sock Full of Kids. He is going to unleash a deluge of tinfoil Aeon cruddiness. Hello, bug inbound from Signal Runner. Has that been transferred over? I mean, it could have been built anywhere back here and coming from a different tack. We're starting to get into the artillery phase of the game as well. Some standoff tactics inbound. Big old disruptor in play soon, but there's already one in play, excuse me, right the way in the backfield here from Odin, who is the lucky recipient of that. And there's also counterfire going in the opposite direction. So we've got two disruptors online for Jagged Source. There will have been people now yelling at the screen saying, "Guile, I saw that 10 minutes ago." I know, but there's a lot going on, and like I said, it's my show. So sit down, eat your popcorn, and hush your voice. Hush your voice, as they say nowhere, because that's a ridiculous accent. Uh-oh. Novak. Someone's getting all Novaxy, and it's Tasson. So are we going to see ridiculous numbers of defense satellites used in no way defensively? Possibly. Is that another bug, or is that control been transferred over from Signal Runner? No, of course not. That's one of Team 2's one. Team 2's bug there. Wektha. There's the bug of Signal Runners. Hordes of ASFs going at it. Massive engagement over in the west, taking a huge volley from this little platoon of lightning tanks down here.
Detected.
A strategic launch coming out from Vantlaw. Who's going to be the lucky recipient of that? Where's that going? Could hit any of the bases down here. Could be going deeper. I would imagine at 39, almost 40 minutes, we should have a reasonable amount of nuke defense. No. That is the end of that little base belonging to Wekther. Good thing for him, he's got about 5 more. Wekther pulling in 709 mass. Some real cat and mouse games in the air being played between Normander and Jagged Source. It's just units everywhere at this point. It's a royal mess, but look at that. Northern Coast has fallen to Team 2. They can now expand. Bantha Fodder likely going to be the one who's going to grab most of these mexes, although we do have Jagged Source moving out with a lot of engineers as well. There's a lot of reclaim to be scooped. Look at that now. It's a very different picture than it was at the beginning of the game. Tons and tons of mass ready to be gobbled up to whoever's the most efficient. Megalith emerges onto the land from Wekther, taking some fire initially from a whole load of spectres belonging to Sockful of Kids. They get killed off, and then the restorers hanging about helping to kill off those spectres belonging to Twitchy Mofo. They in turn get blapped by the air response from Normander. GC versus Megalith. I'm going to go with the Megalith in this one. GC valiant with his laser face and all, but that's not going to be enough firepower. Add a Soul Ripper to that. It's definitely not going to be enough firepower. That Soul Ripper very badly damaged. Some 6,400 hit points left. How long before the next nuke? There's clearly targets of opportunity. That strategic missile defense guile. Where did that nuke launch go? It's right there. Very nearly done on that next nuke. Definite opportunities here. I imagine if the other bases aren't vulnerable already, there'll be some frantic SMD construction going on. Although, like I said, I imagine at this phase of the game we should have some decent coverage. He's almost got an anti-nuke ready there. In that silo, it completes. And we do have a silo here, and that's just completed its first strategic missile defense missile.
Strategic launch detected.
There goes the second nuke. I don't know if we're getting much penetration on this artillery fire from either side. All of the main bases pretty comprehensively shielded. Oh, I fancy a change. There we go. It's feeling a bit more Aeon-y. I don't know why. Missile inbound. Oh, what a lovely little assortment of air facilities. Now very much a thing of the past, and he got a big old clump of fighters in that blast. The fighters here, bingo on fuel. They desperately need a refueling station. And look at this, spider bots catching this forward base by a bit of a surprise with their stealth capabilities. A couple of support commanders emerge from the water to engage, but they're not going to last too long, especially against 2 of them. Destroyers lobbing their ordnance in towards the beach, but they're still reasonably healthy, these 2 spider bots. We've got 29,000 hit points on one. Well, that's about 30,000 each, actually. Almost exactly the same. And a pair of Ethotas coming in behind them. Make that 3, in fact. A third moving in from Vantlor. Another nuke out. Is that from somebody else? Normander, have you got a saucy little nuke silo? Potentially. What are you building up here? Yolana Os on the way. Daddy Chad saying kill air grid. That's where they want to be targeting. Nuke going to the northern section of the territories. Less value. Oh, and they had a nuke launcher of their own. They didn't get to use it. How very sad. Less value, but less well developed, and therefore a good chance of sneaking a nuke in, as they did. Nice work from Normander. If that was you, it did look like it came from you. Yep, there it is, right in the backfield. 118 kills to its name now. But this is an existential threat to Team 2. And it's not far off complete. 10,800 hit points out of 12,000. Right at the top of the screen. Heavily shielded and defended. Nice little push down the coastline. They're going to run into a couple of GCs. This little pile of experimentals from Signal Runner. Signal Runner with a nice little perimeter monitoring station on the front line, living up to his name, doing cyber-y stuff, giving them that awesome field of view. But look out, massive air engagement kicking off over here. Normander and Jagged Source getting real. Not to forget Twitchy Mofo with his huge clump of restorers. Not sure who fared better out of that. It was probably relatively even. See, we had a few air superiority fighters out from Wekther. He's got a lot of aircraft carriers to spam those fighters out from. Do we have anything on the way exciting, game injury from Team 2? Well, we've got a lot of artillery now. 1, 2, 3, 4, soon to be 5, just in this little group in the center. But interestingly enough, I don't think those T3 artillery pieces can hit the Yelena Os, and they're going to want to take that out as soon as they realize it's there. That is the limit of the closest one. The Yelena Os is right in the corner at the top left over here. Oh no, and it is complete, and it is charging and ready to fire. Salvation on the way as well for Sock Full of Kids. Experimental bomber complete for Vantlaw. Yeah, this is going in one direction right now, and unless something shifts massively, it's not going in Team 2's direction. I'm just going to say it.
Strategic launch detected.
There's the super nuke. How many silos do we have in the area? There's another one there. That's got 1. Remember, it takes 2 strategic missile defense missiles to shoot down an experimental super nuke. I don't know which one of those 2 nukes. So I think it was the deeper one. Not that it'll make a huge amount of difference, but if they both target the center, they should get better penetration through the nuclear defenses. Seems like what they're doing, coordinating nicely. Team 2, for the moment, rooted very much in build artillery and build ground offensive weaponry. Team 1 going all out for the big guns. Experimental artillery and experimental nuke launcher. That's how fast that puppy can fire. Only just fired a minute ago. Takes 2 missiles
Strategic launch
apiece.
detected.
There'll be lots of you out there going, Kyle, we know this. We play the game. Yes, but this is information for the people that don't. So, quiet you. Look at the reversal of fortune since that nuke struck that northern base belonging to Bantha Fodder. A brand new walkie-walkie incursion underway with a little beachhead in place once more. One support commander in place. Needs to get some anti-air up quickly. Did that just miss? No, it took it down. Eventually, I don't know, some kind of graphical anomaly for a moment there made it look like it missed. But we do have a Scathis complete for Spectre Slave.
Strategic launch detected.
And it's not Spectre Slave, sorry, it's Wekther talking nonsense. And that can reach everywhere, but of course it's not precise. It's about targeting area rather than punching through specific defenses. Oh dear, Tassan faring very badly under that kind of shotgun artillery spread. In fact, getting a lot of breakthrough here, but the problem is this super nuke probably going to get through now. No, that one gets shot down too. The next one that might do it. We have no more nukes, or anti-nukes, sorry, in this silo.
Strategic launch detected.
Can Team 2 keep up with this? I humbly suggest they can't. Another nuke out, and that's likely going to take out this entire position, and of course that includes the Scathis, only recently completed, and regrettably for Team 2, doing some sterling work. Look at that. It's depressing, but that looks like many of the pictures I've seen recently from Ukraine, just to inject a little bit of sobriety into the cast. Can't have you guys happy for too long. Got to take the tone down just a little bit. And there it is. Boom. Big old delayed spread, of course.
Strategic launch detected.
Oh no. Goodbye. There goes the Scathis and just about everything else in the surrounding area. I'm amazed those hives survived somehow. That's extraordinary. That was ground zero. How did they survive? Did they rep themselves through a nuclear blast? That's ridiculous. Oh, look how well the Scathis and other artillery pieces did. We still, of course, have a lot of disruptors. How many disruptors do we have? Might not be the case for very long. 6 disruptors. Oh, that one going after Bantha fodder.
Strategic
And
launch detected.
anti-nuke silos getting overzealous trying to kill that. That actually absorbed 3 anti-nuke missiles. They don't want to waste missiles like that, but there's nothing they can do about it. Just part of the system. They've got to find a way of taking this out. Strap bombing it, tele-sniping it, something. Trouble is, that is really well defended. Shield gens out the wazoo, point defense everywhere. That is going to be a very difficult ask. We do have strat bombers moving in that direction. Strats coming down the left side. Normander's already seen it. You can see they're posturing. Actually, Normander's got a lot of strats as well. Next super nuke inbound. Super nuke or regular nuke? No, that's a regular one. You can tell by the size. Takes out the next Scathis that was under construction for Wekther. Jagged Source says nope. Can't do that
Strategic
yet.
launch
Brings his
detected.
bombers back. Next nuke out. Just look how quickly it builds. It really is your only option. Take it out. You cannot out spam it with anti-nuke. Support commander marching amongst the wreckages of old Salem destroyers, just as a new group get ready to make landfall. And they managed to kill one more. Jagged Source survives for a moment longer. How many anti-nukes do they have left? It can't be many. A lot of build capacity marshaled around this
Strategic
one.
launch detected.
There goes another nuke. They're sticking with Jagged Source's base. This is the only major threat left for Team 1. If this can land, it is over. It will be at least, I should think, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 artillery pieces. It will also kill Jagged Source. He is on the move, but I don't think he's going to be able to move out the way. You can see on the mini-map that nuke tracking. Surprised they haven't started many more anti-nuke silos. Lots of aircraft up on this side. I'm not seeing any more strat bombers this time, so that was probably a failed attempt to take out the Yolona Os. And that's probably the perfect time for a missile to land. And that, I think, is the end of that. Super nuke
Strategic
landing
launch
in
detected.
Jagged Source's base. And oh dear me. The carnage! Look at that massive hole torn right in the center of Team 2's base. There are some more strats over there. Maybe they didn't go in. Revenants moving up with stealth turned on. A little bit of a giveaway that they're going up with the unstealthed Seraphim Synthers. Synthers or Synthers? I think it's Synther maybe. Next nuke inbound. Probably going to drop a little shallower and take out the main base of Twitchy Mofo. Certainly will be twitchy after this. No, he had enough anti-nuke missiles this time. Next one will probably get him though. Oh, he started work on a salvation as well. What happened to the salvation that Sock for the Kids was working on? Did he ever complete it? Hard to say. Probably got taken out in the wave of
Strategic launch
Scathis
detected.
attacks. Team 1 very scattered now. It's just a right royal mess in here. Not a lot of density. But that's worked in their favour somewhat. Look at this. Tassin just going ape with the amount of T1 land factories and going mass Lobo spam. Send those units inbound. Spectre Slave is still here with his comm trying to defend against that. Soul Ripper guarding the front line. Could probably send it against that Megalith sitting up front for Signal Runner, and this time the nuke once again will make it through, and that will be the end of Twitchy Mofo's base. Bosh! Kerflooey. Love the chain reaction.
Strategic
So
launch
much
detected.
carnage. So satisfying. And the next one going deep after Twitchy Mofo himself, and the last main remnant, the original base that belonged to Hyper 2001, but the last main remnant of Jagged Source's infrastructure now. Like this valiant fight back against this T1 spam threat at the top. We have got Nithota and a whole bunch of Harbingers that have marched their way up to this sort of peninsula. And that's going to make it through as well. That's going to be the end of Twitchy Mofo, the end of Jagged Source's air production, and the end of any hope, I think it's fair to say, of Team 2 getting some kind of comeback. But it was never going to happen. They were just not able to engineer a successful
Strategic
strike
launch
against the
detected.
Yolona Os. It has shut this game down. It's probably going to shut it down
Strategic
completely
launch
within an
detected.
hour. There goes another
Strategic
Yolona Os
launch
and
detected.
another normal nuke out from Normander. Not sure if that's jocular banter or BM there in the chat. But what does it really matter at the end of the day? Like that was a counter nuke out from Team 2, but that got shot down. Got a GC badly damaged coming up on the main base for Strays of Paradise. And this time, Bantha fodder will be Bantha fodder if Bantha like their food incinerated.
Strategic launch detected.
And is that a Control K or is that a... Yeah, it's Control K, I think. Oh, we're getting some... Are those Control Ks out from Team 1 members, or did we get a tele-snipe attempt? It took down Odin, unless Odin just Control K'd. Answers in the comment section if you want to rewind that and let us know what happened. Don't forget the little desync at the end there, we won't worry about that. The video, the replay IDs are available in the video description, guys, so if you want to go back and check the replays for yourself, you're always welcome to do that. And that leaves Strays of Paradise, the chappie who got all of the action in the first 2 minutes, all of the bomber action, lagged behind, left all by his lonesome. Where is his commander? There he is, he's out here. And there is... So I guess they had a pretty good read on where the comm was. Not that they can see it now, but they're literally nuking perfectly. Is that one of his own nukes? That's one of his own nukes, so he's nuked himself. And there he goes. Strays of Paradise strays into paradise, or rather his carcass is dragged behind a Seraphim chariot of radiological fire to close out the game. So there we have it. Solid play from Team 1. MVP, I guess, has to go to... Who built the Yolona in the end? Was it Normander? I think it might have been Normander. Not actually sure. But whoever it was, they're probably going to get the MVP for that one. Again, answers in the comment section below. It's hard when it all changes hands and all goes haywire at the end there. But hope you enjoyed it, guys. 58 minutes and 38 seconds. If you like it, but you've seen most of the content, or you just want to support me, do check out the Patreon. Links in the description below. I try to upload an extra special privileged premium cast just for my Patreon users every single week. So I think we've got some 71, 72 casts, something like that, over on that side of things. So do come and check it out. Huge amounts of content. You get access to the Discord server as well. So yeah. Until next time, guys, stay well and stay safe. This is Guile signing out.